Hello and welcome once again to another edition of the I'm Always Right Sports Podcast. I am your host, as always, the Mouth of Michigan, Robin Dyke. With me, as always, my co-host, the Merkzone, Mike Merkel.
That's me.
And of course, now we have a special treat for you guys. Once again, making another appearance on the show, our resident NBA/college basketball insider, Kyle Budzinowski. Kyle, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am feeling it. I'm living the dream, guys. We have so much to go over. We have so many major topics that have happened in the sports world the past couple weeks. I don't even know where to start. We're not going to be able to hit it all today, but we're going to hit some of the stuff next week. So yes, we're hitting the combine next week. The LeBron James comments, we're hitting it next week. But this week, we've got so many things to go over. Michigan versus Michigan State and that debacle of a game that it was for Michigan. We've got the Merkzone Draft Corner like we do every single week up until the draft. We're talking the Red Wings trade deadline stuff. We're talking Bryce Harper finally signs. It's like we talked about it enough and we made it happen, Mike. I feel personally responsible for Bryce Harper signing them money. I think he owes me a cut. I'm not going to lie, guys. Like, just a little bit. He made $330 million. I should get a little bit.
Yeah, it's only $17,000 at bat.
Right, exactly. That's fine, right? Yeah. Exactly. And of course, to top it all off, a feel-good story of probably the month, if not the year. Roman Reigns finally, his cancer is in remission. He is back in the WWE. We have so many great things to talk about. Let's jump right into it. Michigan State getting the victory in Ann Arbor. 77-70. Michigan kind of made a late run there at the very end. Jordan Poole hitting a couple threes. But State gets the W. Now, that was last Sunday, right? But after we recorded our show, we didn't have time to hit it, but we're hitting it this week. First thing that comes out, that shoots out of my mind is Michigan shot terribly. They did not shoot well. And I was really, Mike, unfortunately, we had to watch the replay of it after we already knew what was going to happen because the power was out here. But just tell me, just straight off the bat, how did you feel? Was this a statement game for Michigan State, or like they just lost to Indiana, or was Indiana yesterday, and it completely ruined their momentum, in my opinion? But was this a must-win type of situation for Michigan State?
I would never say. Here's the thing: I'm not a big regular season fan, especially for college basketball reasons. Because of the tournaments that they have, and then if you're high enough already, you already get into the big 64-man tournament.
Right.
So at that point, you're really playing for seeding here. And even after this game, actually, right now they're actually Spartans are third.
In the Big Ten?
In the Big Ten. They're under Michigan right now because they lost to Indiana.
So that's funny.
If we're going to talk about that. So this game, to me, I think the big game now is next Saturday when Michigan State play a second time.
Right.
Because that one could really cost Michigan get the 1-2 seed, which really makes their road a lot easier. It makes it way more tougher as a Michigan fan.
Right.
But this game, to me, watching it, State just outplayed them.
Yeah.
Michigan couldn't shoot. How many games are you going to see Michigan shoot like 0 for 15 from the 3-point range?
Right. Cassius Winston had himself a day too.
Yeah, he played all 40 minutes.
Right.
How many games can he play all 40 minutes and be like Cassius Winston?
Exactly.
So with all those.
Yeah, and I know Beeline came in after the game was like they played a style of defense we've never seen them play all season. So Michigan State was clearly had this game kind of circled and marked down as this we're going to come up and show up. And to their credit, they did, right? And it's one of those situations to where Tom Izzo came in. And the funny thing about this is that, a lot of people will say that Michigan and Michigan State, that Michigan will never truly rival Michigan State as far as basketball success. But all of a sudden now we're like, oh, Izzo can coach again. Izzo never lost the ability to coach, right? Just because they beat Michigan, okay? Heck of a win, absolutely. But Tom Izzo's still a great basketball coach. Kyle, what does this, in your opinion, say about Michigan State, their chances in the tournament? Where do you see them, the state of the Michigan State basketball team right now? It's a huge win for them, obviously. Does this push them into your mind as a team to beat going into the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament, or because of their up and down kind of way they've been for the past month and a half or so, does this really do anything for you?
I think it was a good statement win. They're going into Michigan. It's a great atmosphere, and they just went in and played great defense.
Absolutely,
really shocking. But thinking about big picture, you're going to be going to the Big Ten tournament and the big tournament. And I know they're going to get Ward back, but I just can't see how they can make a big run if you have Langford, who's hurt for the rest of the season, and I just can't expect. Cassius Winston to just play 40 minutes every game. If you're
right, that's a big thing too. Absolutely,
he's a great player. He's really put 27 points up on Michigan, but I just can't see how they can go in game after game and win one without their star players. I just can't see it.
I you know what, that's not a bad take. Now, Michigan, obviously, it's a rivalry game. You know, they started out so hot at the beginning of the year. We talked about it ad nauseum of how this team was playing fantastic defense. And Beeline even made it a point to say, especially in that second half, that their defense was terrible, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of open layups, a lot of dunks, open threes that they just, for whatever reason, the switching wasn't happening. Mm-hmm. Are we worried at all about Michigan going into tournament play, both Big Ten and NCAA? Because you can't shoot like that, right? Clearly. Yeah. Say that, you know, the regression back to the mean is they're not going to shoot that bad anymore, right? But defensively, we all know defensively that it's about effort at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So are we concerned at all about their defensive effort and kind of falling into love with the three, thinking that we'll be able to shoot our way out of it? Because Michigan can't play like that long term.
No, they can't, but it also, because when you look at the next game after, since we're recording this a week later, you get more of a time to
see how they respond. Absolutely.
And they respond right after with like a 40-point beatdown on Nebraska, I think it was, whoever they played after. Mm-hmm. And then you look at that and you're like, well, maybe they are ready for tournament play.
Right.
They've never really lost a game where they were just totally outplayed, I don't think. I think this is the first one where I think Michigan State actually outplayed them.
And Michigan blew a big lead in this game at one point too. So I mean, we have to take everything into account when talking about this.
Yeah, it's not like Michigan State just like rolled past them. Like Michigan was winning. It was like 10 minutes left in the second where Michigan State got like their first lead of the game. Mm-hmm. They just never gave it back. Mm-hmm. So like
I think 17-2 run or something.
Exactly.
Crazy
Yeah. So like stuff like that where I think when you're in tournament play in neutral site fields and stuff, where even though they were at home, so you have that home court crowd and the home field.
Yeah.
When you're in that neutral site, Michigan's 4-0.
Right.
And Michigan State's 2-2. Mm-hmm. Like it's just something about being neutral.
Right.
About there's not
defense travels, right?
Yeah, defense travels, offense doesn't. So I think if they start relying more on their defense, I think that's where they're getting away. Mm-hmm. Is they stop they're not locking down on defense. They're just like, hey, let's just shoot threes and see if that can work.
Absolutely.
And it's not been working, so you need to lock down on that 3-point shot.
Right, Kyle, same question, right? Are you concerned at all about Michigan going into tournament play? Because a point can be said that the past 2 months or so, month and a half, they did not look the same as they did the first 15, 20 games of this season. It has not been the same team. Every team is averaging about 60 points against you. You let up 77 against Michigan State. Obviously, you bounced back big time earlier this week and put a beat down on, I think it was Nebraska. Mm-hmm. So does that kind of calm the nerve? And it was just Michigan State coming in with full emotion, full power. We got to win this game to send a message to everybody? Or is Michigan really in trouble here in the stretch?
I think not just as a team perspective, but from a player-to-player perspective, their star players, Matthews, Poole, they're wildly inconsistent shooting. Like Matthews, 1 for 8 against State. Poole, he did hit those late threes, but for
the majority of the game.
For the majority of the game, you have wild inconsistency. Even Brosdakis, when he would score, he'd score 23 one game, but then score 0 against Wisconsin.
Right.
And I just can't see I know they're great. They can be great. They can play like a great team. I know they have great defense. Defense wins you games, but offense gets you there.
Right.
And if you don't have that, you're shooting 0 for 23 for 3 like you've done before.
Absolutely.
I don't know how they do it, but maybe they do. Unlike Michigan football, they win big games.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I've experienced a lot of that.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. No, you're totally right, and that you make a great point about that. Right. The inconsistencies on offense are something to definitely keep an eye on, especially going into this tournament. I want to ask you one thing. We both think, 2 questions, okay? Number 1, who makes a bigger run? Just give me straight Michigan State. Kyle, start with you. Michigan State. Who makes a deeper run in the NCAA tournament?
Michigan, because they have more depth.
Okay, all right. Michigan?
I'd say Michigan because of depth.
Depth? Okay, all right. I think we're all kind of in agreement there. Okay, my second question, though, right? There's a Big Ten, and this isn't even on our show sheet, so I'm going to throw a little cribble at you. There's a Big Ten regular season title, and then there's a Big Ten tournament championship, right? Mm-hmm. Michigan State, the past couple years, has actually won the Big Ten regular season championship, but Michigan's won the tournament, right? What's more important, the tournament or the regular season title? Because the argument can be made, we won the regular season championship because we were more consistent in Big Ten play throughout a whole season where you went on a hot streak. But the other way is, you win the Big Ten tournament. Yeah, well, I went through everybody. In one weekend, I did it. I beat the best of the best, and it was done. We're the best.
Well, I think it kind of depends, actually, because I think it's a double-sided coin almost. Because you can say it's consistent, like you're 23-3, you only lost 3 games through 26 games or whatever. But at the end of the day, you could be Michigan. You could be a 14 seed in the Big Ten. You could be Michigan, and you win that tournament, you're guaranteed a spot in.
Right.
So with the importance of the tournament and what it can bring to you, I think winning the tournament the last 3 years, having to win 4 or 5 straight depending on where you seed, plus then you get the guaranteed tournament bid since you won it the last 3 years. I think that's bigger, like long term, like to help you in the tournament and get you farther in.
For the ultimate goal.
For the ultimate goal is winning championship. The regular season one, like congrats that you won the regular season one, but if you lose first round, then your seed drops and nothing really happens then.
Okay, yeah.
So
Kyle, same question, right? What do you think? Is the Big Ten tournament? Are you looking more big picture, or are you just looking like, okay, I'm hanging a banner for regular season champion? Because Michigan, that's the one thing that they haven't really done. You know what I mean? They've got several tournament wins now back to back. But the regular season thing's not always been their forte, but they always make that deep run. Do you care at all that they don't get that accolade? Did you kind of check that box?
I mean, yeah, it's nice, but in the end, I really don't care. Especially with the Big Ten, they have there's a bunch of teams that are going to be in the tournament. That's a really great conference, right?
Right.
And so Michigan, they've lost to State, Wisconsin. Those are good teams.
Right.
So I mean, but I think winning big games is more important that deep. Like in the Big Ten tournament, you get that Big Ten tournament, it's going to look better in the actual tournament.
Yeah.
And so I think you congrats Michigan State or Purdue, they win a Big Ten, the Big Ten whatever title, but
the title.
Yeah, right.
I love that.
The winning title.
Right.
I don't know.
You know, it's just one of those things that some people bring up. It's people, they like to think about it as, okay, we were more consistent. I'm like, that's great, but at the end of the day, what you need to do is you need to get hot at the right time. You get hot at the very beginning of March. That's all that matters, right? Until the very end of it. We've seen it with, with Villanova last year, where they went, Michigan caught fire, had some lucky breaks fall their way. Loyola, all of a sudden, for whatever reason, they were there. So obviously, it's about how you finish. It's not how you start, right? So it's something we're going to do a whole March Madness bracketology episode coming up here in the next couple weeks. So please keep an eye out for that. All right, let's shift now. Usually we do this at the end of the show, but because Kyle is here, we're going to move it up to the forefront. The Merkzone Mock Draft Corner, the 3rd edition, I might add. Ooh. So we're going to hit, once again, if you guys don't know, first off, please go back and listen to episode, I think it's 12 and 13, respectively, that have been the debuts of the Merkzone Draft Corner. If you haven't listened to those already, please go back in our archives and do so. But basically, once again, the rundown, Mike's going to find a mock draft. He's going to give me and Kyle the top 5 picks. The Lions picks for the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round, and then anybody else maybe that he's noticed that are on the draft boards that maybe are falling or went a little bit early, depending on the scenarios. We're going to try to not give me a heart attack the best possible, but here we go.
I'm going to try to give Kyle a heart attack, but I don't know. It's a lot harder to give Kyle.
Kyle's younger than me, though, so I think he's a little healthier than I am.
I do eat a lot of McDonald's.
So maybe I can get you to this time.
There we go. All right, Mike. First off, do we know whose mock draft is this? Do we know who's this is?
No, but I'm using the Walter Football updated one. It was updated 2/27.
2/27. Okay, cool.
So it was updated
about a week ago.
Yeah, 3-4 days ago.
Okay.
So, and this one does have trades involved.
Okay.
So,
do we see compensation at all, or just the swapping?
We're just seeing swapping.
Okay.
It gives kind of like a maybe, but I'm just gonna say they swap.
All right,
for how it stands right now. So right now, the number 1 pick, Arizona Cardinals keep their number 1 pick, and they will pick Nick Bosa, defense end out of Ohio State.
Now, we're going to go into a lot of depth this next week, especially on our combine portion of the episode. But there's been a lot of rumors. Obviously, that Kyler Murray is probably going to go to Arizona now. They're going to completely flip the script. But if they don't, and that's just a big smokescreen, first off, good on them for getting everybody convinced. But some people are saying it's a 50-50 shot. But if they do take Nick Bosa, I think, along with Chandler Jones, Robert Nkemdiche in the middle, that's a hell of a pairing right there. So I can't.
I know probably when this updates next week, it'll probably be
Kyler. But either way, as of this moment, right? Let's just say, sure, why not? But,
so the number 2 pick, we're actually going to see a trade happen here.
Okay.
We're going to see the New York Giants trade up to number 2. And 49ers are just going to go down, and they're going to pick Dwayne Haskins out of Ohio State, number 2.
Wow. Okay, so they don't even go Kyler there. They think.
Nope.
Wow. Okay, that's
so they really want Dwayne Haskins here.
He looked good.
So
wait for next week.
Now number 3, New York Jets keep their pick, and they're picking Josh Allen, linebacker out of Kentucky.
Yeah, that's been pretty consistent. That's. I'm not necessarily especially because they've taken so many defensive linemen the past couple of years. That Williams from Alabama is still there, so it doesn't shock me.
Now this one might be the shock of this whole draft here.
Okay.
Number 4, Oakland Raiders keep their pick, and they pick Kyler Murray, quarterback out of Oklahoma.
Right. Well, there's been some rumors, right, that they're shopping Derek Carr. The combine, like we said, is going on as of this recording. I think it finishes up actually when this episode drops. But there's been some talk that they are shopping Derek Carr. Yeah. Two things that I have a problem with that, though. Number one is you don't run an offense necessarily that benefits Kyler's skill. I mean, you won a championship with Brad Johnson, John Gruden did, as your quarterback. There's no mobility there. Number two, I think that while you do have weapons in Tampa Bay, no one's going to take Derek Carr's contract right now. Mm-hmm. It's a very similar situation to Matt Stafford's. A lot of Detroit fans want Stafford gone, which are stupid, but we'll get into that. You're not going to take a contract on a guy who had a down year, who played for a crappy team, who is making $25-26 million right now.
It says
if they can, wow. But I don't know what you'd have to give up in order to get rid of Derek Carr. You're not getting a ton back.
Yeah, it says Gruden was very frustrated, visibly with Derek Carr, so there's a chance that he could get rid of him.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him get traded, but I'd be very interested to see where they go. And I honestly, if that's a weird one to me, that they Kyler of all people, but Gruden may fall in love.
Here's another interesting one. Mm-hmm. So now we have another trade. There's a lot of trades in the opening rounds, too.
Apparently.
Washington Redskins trade up to number 5.
Go get Drew Lock.
To get Daniel Jones.
What? Duke. No way. Seriously?
Yep.
Wow, wow, that's weird to me. I would assume Drew Lock is probably the consensus number 3 quarterback in this draft.
I would assume so too. But I could see that if they watch the combine, there's something particularly you like in Daniel Jones, maybe?
Maybe because if he fits that Alex Smith mold more than I think Drew Lock does. Drew Lock is more of the strong arm, less accuracy. Yeah. Daniel Jones, not as strong an arm. But I think, honestly, Washington, I think they can maybe even trade down. If they really fall in love with that kind of quarterback, go get Ryan Finley from NC State. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like you don't need to make that kind of a move because I don't think anybody ahead of you is going to take Daniel Jones unless Cincinnati does something weird, or Miami.
Kyle, how you feel about any of these? Any of these shocking you so far?
I don't know, maybe I thought Kyler Murray would go first. I don't know, that'd be kind of a battle with Josh Rosen, but otherwise
you're gonna get rid of Josh Rosen. Yeah. That whole situation we're gonna cover in great detail, coming up here, because that's something that I'm super. Okay, give me what we got, number 5.
Yeah, so that was number 5. So Niners take Quinnen Williams at number 6 off the trade.
Wow, talk about great value there.
Yeah, exactly. Now, in a situation where number 6 and Quinnen Williams is still on the board, do you like him enough to try to go get him or no?
No, because the problem is that I think defensive line, right? Because he's a defensive line. He's not a defensive end, right? He's a defensive lineman. He's a D-tackle. I think you have enough depth there with. You just re-signed Aquara, who plays DN, but, Hand can go inside. Ashawn's still there. You have Snacks. You have pieces there that I don't think... That is not your number 1 need there, and I think you can get value at number 8. I'm hoping you're going to tell me they're going to trade down, but I have a feeling you're not.
They're not.
They're not
They're keeping this number 8 pick.
I don't think he's good. It's not that I don't think he's good. I don't think that, based off of needs, that's where they go.
So, number 8. Let me just ask, where do you think they go? At number 8, after hearing these first picks, where do you think they go?
Where do I think they go?
No, what position-wise do you think they're going to go here?
I think they could go defensive end still. I think Farrell's probably still on the board.
Yes.
I think they could go linebacker still with Devin White at LSU, which I hope they don't. I think they could go Ed Oliver still because he's he could play both positions. I'm going to say Ed Oliver is the pick.
Okay. Number 8, Detroit Lions pick Devin White, linebacker.
Of course, the one guy comes like, no, I don't want them to do that.
Literally, as he said that, I saw it. I go,
oh Lord. All right, tell me then. Okay.
So they say the Lions have one of the worst linebacking corps in the NFL. They can't cover anyone in the middle of the field, so this would add help to the middle of the field to cover.
But Devin White is almost the same linebacker as Jared Davis. The professional comparison between the two is Jared Davis for Devin White. So here's the thing. If you're gonna tell me right now that either Jared Davis's responsibilities are gonna be to blitz a ton, right, and Devin White's gonna be able to cover, unless you're gonna switch and you're gonna start running with a 4 linebacking core, which you didn't really do. I don't understand that. I don't really understand that. You sign, even if Christian Jones is a casualty, Christian Jones didn't do bad in coverage last year. Kennard's your jack linebacker that's blitzing off the edge. I don't see that fit. I understand that they may need linebacker depth help. No, I'm not arguing that point. But to take a linebacker this high, you better hope then that he better be a stud, because you're not picking at 20 now. You're picking at 8. And at number 8 overall, he better be the second coming of Ray Lewis at that point. I'm going to be honest with you. The amount of holes that this team has, that means you told me that they signed a receiver, probably 2 tight ends, and a defensive end in free agency with that pick. Scary. Absolutely scary. All I needed, and we're a month away from the draft. Jeez.
So, to round out the first round, the Packers pick Rashad Gary at number 12.
Fell to 12?
Yep.
That's my worst.
And then number 28, the Chargers take Devin Bush, linebacker out of Michigan.
Okay.
So that's to round out the first round.
Okay. All right. Give me the second round for the Lions. So I'm very interested to see where they go now since they went linebacker.
So just to keep it going, the Buffalo Bills take Marquise Brown out of Oklahoma right before we pick.
Okay.
So he's off the board. So where do you think
the
Lions go? You think they go corner?
Mm-hmm.
Detroit Lions take Amani. Rough last name, cornerback out of Penn State.
Okay, yeah, so that guy
we all know. Yeah, we all know.
Yeah, the guy we've been talking about before. Okay,
that
doesn't surprise me. Big body guy. What is he? 6'2"?
Yeah, he is. No, he is 6'1", 203.
6'1",
with
right.
A lot of quickness.
Yeah, that doesn't
last
shock
guy
me.
drafted wasn't fast though. Kind of disappointing.
Yeah,
we don't talk about that yet.
They're looking for big things out of Tease. All right,
yeah.
We could all be proven wrong here. A year from now,
really
Tease has 6 picks, and we're all like, damn. So, all right, give me round 3.
He's the next coming of Darius Slay, maybe.
Oh Lord.
Can
only hope.
But
that doesn't shock me as a guy. He's been penciled in the second round.
Yep.
Can you tell me where the guy from Ohio State who ran that 4.3, where he ran? Or where he went? Did he go first round or did he go second round?
Who are we talking about?
I'm talking about
Paris Campbell?
Yeah, Paris Campbell. Yeah, where did he go?
I can go through this draft and find it for you if you like in a minute. But I'm pulling up the third round.
Also, where did Metcalf go? I'm sure he went in the first round, right? Where did he go? Baltimore?
You're asking a lot of questions.
Give me Metcalf. Metcalf.
He actually went. Oh, this is awesome! I just found it. He went to the Patriots at 32.
Of course he did. And he's an all-star. He's an all-pro.
Yeah,
might as well pencil him in for 3 championships.
As you said his name twice, and I literally was switched over, and I was like, oh, here we go.
Okay, sounds good. All right.
I'm going to give you that third round pick.
Give me Lions' third round pick. We'll talk. Oh, my gosh. That's hilarious. Of course, that's where he goes.
All right. The Lions pick a wide receiver out of Georgia, Mecole Hardman.
Okay. Yeah, that doesn't necessarily surprise me there. He's, what is he, 5'10"?
Yep.
5'10"? Yeah.
5'10".
Yeah. So he's your
He's your Golden Tate replacement.
Yeah, right. And that's why I asked where Paris Campbell was, because Paris Campbell, similar size but blazing speed, right, to run across. All 3 Ohio State wide receivers had a hell of a combine. All ran unofficial sub 4.3s. I think one guy ran a 4.41. But I think Paris Campbell is in the mix there at that second, third round. He probably helped himself into the second round. High seconds probably with that performance he had at the combine.
I'm looking.
But it wouldn't surprise me.
Paris Campbell, if you want to know, goes 37 to the Niners.
Right, exactly. So he's right before our pick. Yeah. He's going to go high. They need weapons for Garoppolo. They're probably going to cut Garcon this year. Mm-hmm. You have Kittle already, right? There's been no rumors of them trying to get Antonio Brown, but it wouldn't shock me if they went and got Antonio Brown. They have Jerick McKinnon. There's a lot of speed on that team, especially offensively. That doesn't make me upset. That pick there at third round. If you can get a starter in the third round like they did with Galladay, where he's going to fit that slot role. But what this draft tells me is 2 things. Number 1, they signed Trey Flowers in free agency.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that jumps off the page for me. The second thing that this tells me is that they probably also went and got a tight end. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's Charles Clay, if it's Dwayne Allen, if it's Jack Doyle, if it's who. It could be a mixture of all 2. Maybe it could be all 3. They signed all the tight ends. We signed all the linebackers last year in free agency, so let's sign all the tight ends this year. Those are the 2 major things that tells me. It also tells me that they probably missed on the corner that they wanted in free agency, so they addressed it in the second round and are hoping to slot him in. That probably also means that Nevin Lawson is probably getting cut at that level. Either that or it's him and Tease are fighting over that third cornerback spot, because you have probably the 2 safeties, and maybe it means too that they went safety and they went and got a Landon Collins or something like that. Well,
actually, looking at this, in the 5th round, they go Mike Bell, a safety.
Yeah, 5th round though. That's to me where that tells me special teams development into starter. That's what tells me. So I'm thinking long term. But okay, honestly, I'm not upset with that. The Devin White thing, I'm still about, but I'm interested to see how these mock drafts kind of develop as the combine ends. We have pro days, all that kind of good stuff. Free agency start next week. Which, by the way, guys, we got a quick hitter episode for NFL free agency dropping later this week. So keep it tuned. Probably about Wednesday or so. We're going to be hitting that. And I think Kyle's going to be sticking around for that as well. But all right, guys, that's going to be it for part 1 of this episode of the I'm Always Right Sports podcast. Please stay tuned for a quick commercial from our host, TracyStJames from TravelMation.net. She also makes the best Disney Mickey Mouse ears that you can find on her Etsy account, Talk Disney to Me. Now let's hear from the brain, Emily Merkel, so she can tell us all about it. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, it's Emily the Brain coming here to tell you about today's episode sponsor, TracyStJames. She is your #1 hookup for planning the best Disney family vacations. So if you're looking to take a break from the super cold weather here in Detroit or wherever you're at, contact Tracy at TracyStJames at TravelMation.net. That is Travelmation with an M. She will be able to help you plan an amazing vacation. And while you're packing, make sure to check out her Etsy store for some awesome ears. The Etsy store is Talk Disney to Me, 2 as in the number 2. They're super comfortable and you can get them customized for anything you want, whether you want to rep a sports team, get ready for a wedding, or you just want a special Disney pair of ears for your favorite movie. Now, 1, all of her links will be down below in our descriptions, and 2, get ready for part 2.
All right, welcome back to part 2 of this week's episode. We are now joined by the lovely, the brain, Emily Merkel. Emily, how are we doing today?
Great.
Fantastic. All right, guys, we're going to jump right in now. Red Wings trade deadline. The Wings made some moves. Before we really jump into our opinions of the state of the Wings or anything else like that, let's just go over what they did. Kind of had a busy trade deadline. A couple trades that went through. The biggest one, obviously, the Wings trade Gustav Nyquist to the San Jose Sharks for a 2019 second-round pick and a conditional 2020 third-round where if San Jose makes the finals this year, it turns into a second-round pick. So possibly 2 second-rounders for Nyquist. He was, he's making about $6 million a year. They probably aren't going to be able to re-sign him or extend him. I know some Wings fans were bummed. He was their second highest point total on the team, so you're definitely going to be missing some of his offense, but at the same time, it's not like you're going to lose or win more just based off of Gustav. So, wish you best of luck in your future endeavors, as Vince McMahon would like to say. And then obviously, the other one, the Red Wings trade Nick Jensen and a 2019 fifth-round pick for Madison Bowie and a 2020 second-round pick. Now, obviously, the Wings are trading, that fifth-round pick this year to get a higher pick next year, which is something that I can always kind of subscribe to. And they get a player in Madison Bowie who is a big kid, hasn't been able to see a lot of ice time, is going to probably be looking here to develop a little bit and basically just give this kid a shot. And Nick Jensen obviously was on an expiring deal who then basically signed an extension with, I think, the Capitals to basically for a 4-year deal around $10 million. So good for Nick Jensen. I think it's a great trade for the Wings. You basically got a couple second-round picks and a third-round pick for 2 guys and a fifth that weren't going to be on the team probably going forward. You didn't have the money, nor did you really want to invest the kind of resources that you wanted to or needed to kind of keep these guys around. Just thoughts on their moves. Do we like the fact that, once again, we're trading off basically any type of asset that we have right now to accumulate picks? They brought up Sedina earlier last week just to kind of really set yourself up and really embrace the suck, I guess is the best way of putting that, to really get ready for this rebuild and try to do it the right way. You know what I mean? Do we think that that's the... I mean, just give me your overall thoughts on the trades. Do we like the fact that Nyquist is gone? He's a fan favorite. Anything really that you kind of took away from the trade deadline?
Yeah, I like the trade deadline. I mean, it's always nice getting rid of players, accumulate picks, because in the long term, as we see in baseball, it works often.
Right.
When you get those picks and you can start developing those younger players, then you can have more of a future than trying to trade for... See, we always look at it as if you trade for talent now that is good now,
right,
then you can just win now. But in the sense that you want to just rebuild and you want to get all these young guys, because you have more young guys than you do veterans really now.
Right.
So trying to get these picks, trying to start developing these players in 2 years.
Yeah,
you're looking
stock up basically. Right?
Yeah, so you can almost do a Golden State Warrior thing in basketball where you get all these young guys in the draft and stuff. And then in a year or 2, they build up to be one of the better teams in the NBA. You can do that for hockey, where you get all these guys, you can build them up, maybe make a run.
Right, absolutely. Same question, right? Thoughts on the Wings moves? I know we actually went to a game last Friday, I think, where they announced the Nick Jensen trade. turns out that was one of the last games that Nyquist is going to play in a Red Wings uniform. But just tell me what your thoughts are. Are you happy the fact that we're accumulating these draft picks and really embracing this rebuild and trying to move it forward as quickly as possible by getting and not settling for lower draft picks and getting really good value for some of these guys?
I think it's a good move at the end of the day. I mean, like, you just run into this issue, like, okay, so we have some good pieces. We're not performing well. We're not getting what we want out of them. So in order to bring the Red Wings up to any semblance of, actually earning the name of being a team in Hockey Town, I think
right. Well,
I think that maybe, but we've talked about it before on the show, there is some concern that maybe the team isn't developing young players as much as it should. So maybe by getting some of this younger talent on the team, they might have, it's almost like a no choice. Like, you can't count on some of the older, more veteran talent.
Right.
So hopefully we'll see some good growth there. It's kind of a toss-up. Young talent can be great, but if you don't hone it, then...
Well, I'm glad, though, here's the thing. I'm glad that Holland is embracing this and they're not trying to somehow leg out a couple more years of average hockey, right?
Right.
And there's been talks that there's probably going to be an extension for Jeff Blashill, right? We've talked about how we may not be necessarily in favor of that. I can appreciate the fact that Holland they're taking whatever assets they can and they're flipping. Like Thomas Vanek last year, they were able to flip for a third-round pick. They brought him back. They tried to trade him again this year even. They're flipping guys that they're signing to short-term deals that are playing well for them in order to kind of accelerate this rebuild and say, okay, I know we're not going to have you long-term, but that's okay. We're going to keep you here. You're going to play, do your thing, and we're going to ship you off to a contender so we can get the more valuable asset, which is the pick, right, at this point. So I think that the Wings are doing a heck of a job as far as not only accelerating, but getting quality players or getting quality picks for players that we know won't be here after next season. They know they won't be here long term. They're not part of this overarching rebuild process. It's more simply a means to an end. They're coming here, they're going to sign here knowing, okay, but we're going to do our best possible way to get you to a contender. Like San Jose is a contender, right? Nyquist is going to be on the third line for them, for goodness sake. So it's not even like he's going to be a starter for them. So being able to get that kind of value, the same thing they got for Tatar last year, it's getting high picks. It's getting picks, just more throws at that dartboard, which I think is extremely crucial. Give me a time limit though on this rebuild, right? They've done some great things as far as accumulating some of these draft picks. I think they hit on Zadina. I think he's going to be a stud. You've got Athanasiou. You've got Larkin, who's playing well. You've got individual pieces that I think most people can say they like. Give me a timeline: 3 years. 5 years, 27 years, 56 years for the Lions, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Wow, that was a shot.
Well, they're my team. I can do it. But just give me just a number, like anything, and give me some logic behind it. Is it 3 years? Is it 5 years? Is it like a Tigers thing?
Okay. How long Splash will the coach for?
At least I'd say another probably 2 more seasons.
Okay.
Probably next year, and then the year after that when
give me 4 years, and this team will be a contender.
4 years?
Yeah.
Okay, I actually like that, how you kind of thought that in there. So
I'm just gonna assume Blashill, I think, will do a decent job to start developing some of these players. That's what he's been doing that actually decently well, I would say. I think it's more of the coaching ability of the players on the ice is where he runs into the problem.
Yeah.
So if he can develop some of these players and then they move away from him and then they get a guy who's better with the on-ice, like actually coaching the game of hockey, then I think Blashill is at it. Then maybe that's when you can start making the run with the developed players that Blashill made. Yeah. The next coach that comes in could then take that team and really run with the fit.
I liken the way you're saying. It's similar to what the Pistons did, right? Where you had, what's his name?
Van Gundy?
No, not Van Gundy. No, before that. Well, they had Rick Carlisle, right?
Okay.
And Rick Carlisle developed. They got some of these guys in, right, and really developed that team and brought the team where it needed to be. And then they brought in Larry Brown at the very end there to get them over the hump, exactly, into that championship.
Which I think maybe what the Lions might have done here with Jim Caldwell. Maybe he was there to start building the
get
thing.
It there, and then Patricia's there to take it to another level.
That's what you're hoping for.
Absolutely. That's a great comparison. Same question. Give me a timeline on this rebuild. Mike's saying 4 years. I don't think that's necessarily wrong. I think that's probably pretty close to where I think their timeline probably is.
Yeah.
To give Yzerman a couple years if he does come in after this season. Give me a number. Just what are you thinking? 5, 10? I know.
I was gonna say my gut reaction was 5. I don't know why. I was like, I don't think it'll take 10 years. 10 years was a long time. But my gut instinct was 5.
10 years means they tried and it failed and they got to do it again.
Yeah, so 5 years. 5 years. Not halfway through.
Yeah.
I think about 5 years, about as long as it takes you to get through college, get through high school, do that sort of thing. Get everyone together.
Yeah.
Train them all up. Train them all up.
Right. Yeah. 5 years from now, we'll be talking about we did it, guys. Remember we were talking about at the beginning of the show how the Wings were terrible, and now look at we're Stanley Cup runner-ups.
Yeah, I mean, I think if things fall into place, I think within like 4 to 5 years. I think 3 is pushing it a little early, but I think 4 to 5 years is probably good.
Right. I'm gonna bet
5. I
think if they can't get it together,
5 years, we.
Okay.
I think if they can't get it together within
4.
that kind of time frame is where you're going to see, okay, clearly they missed on some picks, right? And that's kind of where you're going to see, like, we're maybe in a problem. But it'll be interesting to see who they draft this year, kind of see where we're going to be and kind of these young stars that we can kind of see coming forward. Okay, let's shift now from the ice. Let's shift now to the baseball diamond. Bryce Harper finally signs. It's about time, so I can stop talking about this dude. It's about time. He signs with the Philadelphia Phillies, the team that everyone kind of thought he was going to sign with to begin with, and he winds up signing with them. So that's a lot of build up for nothing. But good for him. 13 years, $330 million, a full no trade clause in there, no opt outs anywhere. So he's a Philadelphia Philly, folks, whether you like it or not, and he's probably going to be there for quite a while. He's probably going to end his career there. But thoughts on the signing, Philadelphia now. I mean, I just kind of want to go over here their batting lineup. There are some of the pieces that they did. They signed Andrew McCutchen, right, an aging guy who was a star for Pittsburgh for so many years. They traded for JT Realmuto. They also have John Segura there, who hit 304. Riz Hoskins, their first baseman, who hit 34 homers last year. And Odubel Herrera, who hit 22 home runs last year. So, and adding Bryce Harper now into that slot, the second, third bat in that lineup, you have now tons of pieces on that Phillies team right now, right? Mm-hmm. The pitching for me is where I'm like, okay, that's going to be okay. But I think the Phillies are trying to keep pace with the Braves in a lot of sense. I think they're trying to keep pace with with Boston and with the Yankees as far as being able to. You have a lot of young guys and you have a lot of pieces there that are all pretty much excelling under the radar, right? Like some of these guys, right? Like Hoskins and Herrera, no one knows who these guys are, you know what I mean? Unless you're in Philadelphia, right? Or you're a super hard baseball fan. So, but they're all putting up pretty good numbers, right? The Phillies are an example of a team that did the rebuild right. They won the World Series, they tore it down, they've been terrible for years, and now they're building it back up. They put in a guy like Bryce Harper. Tell me, does this make the Phillies a World Series favorite? Does this change how you feel about the Phillies going into the season? Or is it they have pieces, but it's not going to happen this year?
No, it won't happen this year.
No.
And I'm going to say that because in the NL, and I'm very certain almost about this, I think the Dodgers are going to win it.
You think so? They're finally going to do it.
Yeah, they're going to win the NL this year. And with my feeling on that, I don't think Phillies will win it this year. Mm-hmm. Now, I think over time, now that you have someone like Bryce Harper, you can start, add pieces that help to that and maybe give it like a year or two-ish. Maybe next season you can add that, but I'm full confidence. I think this is a Dodgers year, and so I don't think the Phillies will do it this year.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I know a lot of people just talking, just kind of around the office and what have you at my actual job, where we talked about it, and Bryce Harper to me is a very interesting player because he has solid numbers from a power standpoint. I think he hit 34 home runs last year, had 100 RBIs, right? But he hit 240 last year. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, I think he hit 300 once, and that was his MVP season a couple years ago. He has never played a full season, right? But he's also probably the biggest name to be a free agent probably ever, okay? He's a very interesting prospect. So if you're a Phillies fan, yes, you're excited. But man, there's going to be some times where I think you're going to be really frustrated with a Bryce Harper going into this because I think what this free agency period has shown us is that there was truly some, I think, reservations by a lot of baseball clubs to not sign him. Mm-hmm. I think due to his overall consistency, because at some point the thought is that the power might go away or something's going to dip, right? It's either his average is going to go up or his power is going to go down. So for me, I think that the Phillies are thinking there's probably going to be a designated hitter at some point in the next 10 years, and he's going to fill that slot at the tail end of his career to make him worth the $25 million a year that he's going to get paid. But tell me just what you're thinking on and I guess I'll start with you, on Bryce Harper as a player and what he does for the Phillies. Does he take them to another level, or is it a lot of like sizzle but not enough steak to Bryce Harper? Is the best way of putting that.
Wow.
I don't know. I thought that was a great analogy.
That was really laughing. I really had to think about that.
Right? Exactly. Like if you sound it, you smell it, right? It smells so good, and then you chew it, and it's well done. It's gross.
Oh,
As a person who accidentally ordered their steak well done for a long time.
That's gross. You ruined it. It tastes like a shoe.
Yeah, what have you been doing?
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, we're running off topic. Tell me about Bryce Harper, not about steaks.
I think there's a little meat to the guy.
Wow.
Little meat to the guy for playing.
That, my friends, is the very first shirt by the I'm Always Right Sports podcast. There's a little meat to the guy. All right.
I think
this is a family
he's a good
show.
player. They're paying for him. As a finance person, I was like, somebody clearly thinks there's.
Mike said it too. I think it's $17,000 per at bat.
Yeah, $17,000 in at bat or something like that.
You know, casual, whatever.
It's just only $17,000. Like I don't know what you're
every time
talking
you do one thing. Imagine you get $17,000.
You could strike out.
But anyways, I mean, I think he'll do well for the team. Mm-hmm. I think that the question is he going? Is there a complete enough team around him, and is he going to do well enough to actually push this team into a championship? But do I think he'll do good things for the team? Sure.
Yeah, right, and that's kind of why I brought up some of the guys that they signed. Like Real Muto was a hell of a catcher, right? They signed him. McCutchen is at the tail end of his career, some of the power is gone, but. He's a hell of an athlete, right? Obviously, we know that he can play. Mm-hmm. For me, it's more of it's a consistency thing. And I honestly, for my money, there's got to be some analytics involved that tell me that Bryce Harper is doing something for me. Is his WAR has got to be ridiculous because, like, I look at a guy like Mike Trout. I'd rather have Mike Trout every day, 7 times on Sunday over Bryce Harper.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So I look at that and I just go, man, that 240 is not good. You know, I mean? It's not good.
When you literally walk, that's a 2 out of 10 average.
Right.
When you look at it in that,
it's just like, oh man, it's just not.
I mean, I would trust him like in the clutch, like bottom of the 9th.
Right.
You need that one hit maybe, but like I'm not. And that's what my problem with baseball is, trying to sign these big guys. That's why it took so long, and we talked about it before, is you can't just put all your money in that one basket.
Yep.
You can't just be like, Bryce Harper will change this team. I don't think they'll go from 80 and 82 to be able to beat, the Nationals in their division. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if they get enough of a jump to really get past some of these teams. Right. And I don't think that one player helps to beat the Dodgers. And that's just, like...
But that's the point, though, right? And that is and it's funny. The Phillies, I think, are one of the few teams this offseason who basically said we're kind of prepared to spend stupid money.
Yes,
like we're going to be stupid about it. We're going to invest in this team. We've been terrible for so long. You have some of these younger guys coming up. You've got pieces in place. I think your whole infield basically is pretty much stacked. So you've got pieces in place now, and Bryce Harper is kind of like your massive $300 million cherry on top.
Yeah.
That you're going to hope that kind of takes you over the edge. I'd just be very interested to see the next 3-4 years is where you're going to get the most value out of this contract, because once he hits 30, that's when you're either going to see him turn into a good, like Victor Martinez was a very good baseball hitter. He didn't always hit for power, but he was a good hitter. There's a difference, or you're going to see a dramatic drop off.
And here's the thing: if I was Philly, I'd be very nervous because if this doesn't work, you're screwed for 13 years.
Yeah, right. You're paying
because if he's not turns out to the guy that you need on that team, you have him for so long that you can't get anything else with his huge contract.
Yep.
And so you're just in the tanks for 13 plus years then.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's a big risk there.
It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be fun to watch. Obviously, I'm glad the Tigers didn't sign him. That amount of money is just bananas.
Especially not now.
No, we're not ready. That's the thing. So, all right, we're going to shift focus now from the baseball diamond to the squared circle. The biggest, the most uproar, the most uplifting story possible. If you're not familiar, Roman Reigns announced that he has leukemia. Okay, it was flaring up. He had an episode. I don't really know fully how leukemia works, but we're gonna go with that. But and now it is in remission. He came back on Monday night this past week. He's in remission. He is back. He's gonna be on TV probably tonight as of this recording. So the biggest question is, first off, how excited are you for him to be back, right? Knowing where he was Universal Champion, he was the man, he's now back, he got a tremendous ovation on Raw last week. Alan, I'll start with you because we watched it together. How excited are you for him to be back? Or are you just kind of like, hey, he's back, okay, cool.
I think that with the fact that, wrestling has a fixed ending, I think there's a lot of it that can feel, and, the feuds and all the stuff they generate, you can feel a little bit like, I won't say hokey, but some people, it just doesn't bode well with them. But I think that every now and then you get glimpses of these really, like, human elements of things. Like, this guy had cancer 11 years ago. Yeah. He got cancer again. How long was he out? Like, probably what?
He was only out a couple months.
Since October.
Since October.
So.
It's not that long.
But, he's like...
Yeah, you realize, you kind of forget in those moments, right, that they aren't real people, right? They're characters. They're these, they're these superhero-like people who go out every single night, 300 days a year, and bust their bodies up, for our entertainment, right? And the most time we do is we spend time criticizing, why this guy won and why that guy won. But to your point, is that when these kind of ththings happen, you realize that, oh my gosh, these are people. You know what I mean? That these are real people that, like they have other crap going on. And so for him to come out like that,
there's no storyline there. There's just like a guy doing what he loves who Right,
and he wanted to come back.
Like luckily he probably has like a great staff of doctors. They caught him coming back early. Hopefully he'll come back. I think this is like an odd statement to make, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with Roman Reigns going forward. I'm excited to see him back. People always boo Roman.
That's kind of my thing.
People don't really like people. Right. Roman was always like that one everyone liked to be annoyed about.
Because, but you got to remember though, that's the point. Because you felt like it doesn't matter what happens with anybody else, they're gonna shoot him to the moon, right? Now, Mike, I'm gonna ask you a different question because I know you're happy that he's back, right? They need him back, really. He's such a star, right? Whether you like him or you don't, he delivers. At the end of the day, he delivers.
He does.
Take the Triple H match at Mania out of the question for a second there. Most of the time, Roman Reigns delivers in big matches. Whether it's getting a match out of Brock, whether it's getting a match out of Braun Strowman, whether it's getting a match out of old-ass Taker, getting a match out of Lashley. Lashley sucks. I'm sorry, but he does, okay? There's nothing fun about Bobby Lashley most times, okay? He's a power guy, he's an athletic freak, but he's boring, okay?
Yes.
That's why they have a 4'4" dude talking for him, because he can't talk. He's not entertaining to me. Point being...
Can't say it.
Huh?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. So, but he gets a good match out of him, right? He's had great matches with Rollins and Ambrose and Cena and every other person you can name. Is this setting him up now for Roman to be the biggest star ever?
Yes.
Because this has never happened before.
No. And listen, after one thing, everyone went from booing him to getting the biggest cheer that we've heard in the last 6 years.
Right.
Anything he does now, it's going to be like they can't boo him anymore.
Right.
And it's almost like they almost like it's bad to say they almost like played with you there.
Yeah.
Where it's like you make like there's no way you'll be an awful person if you boo him, and they almost like fix that into you, even though it's a real life thing. Right. Now it's like they almost fix you where it's like if you boo him, you're booing a guy who had cancer. Like it's almost
and
like,
that's the thing. And he didn't have to come back. That's what people don't understand too. Like he's made tons of money. I mean, you're making millions of dollars when you're the top guy. So for him to come back when he wins the title again, it's gonna be bananas.
It's gonna he's gonna get a bigger reaction than when Ziggler won the title after cashing in, and that was
craziness, right? Especially and I think this gives WWE a second chance with him.
Yes.
Because he was going to be the biggest star no matter what. Not maybe the biggest star ever, not Cena level, right? But he was going to be the new Cena of this era, right? For the next 5-7 years. But now that he is back, right? Even if he doesn't work as full a schedule going forward as he gets older, obviously those treatments have to take a ton on your body, right? He looked great, obviously, coming back. But the point being, Roman now has an opportunity to
be the biggest babyface
ever, right? And it's going to be one of those things where it's like, how do you not, right? It's one of those things to where even if he could lose the next 100 matches, it wouldn't matter. He could win the title the next day, and it would be fine, right? It's so amazing that WWE has a second chance now to just let them support him organically. Mm-hmm. There doesn't need to be this, we need to anoint him out of the Shield as our guy because he's The Rock's cousin, right? Or because of whatever reason. He's huge, he's got a great look, what have you. Mm-hmm. It gives the fans the opportunity now to do it for them.
And,
just to say, he's our guy now.
I would say,
he's not your guy, he's our guy.
Going back, I think they really missed a chance here with the Dean Ambrose turn, because I think doing it on the day that he announced it was huge. Mm-hmm. But if you say they do an angle where they team back up, and then he does it on Reigns after he wins the title or something, and say he screws him out of the title or something, he will be whoever does it, like Ambrose, will be the biggest heel in the world because you're going against the biggest babyface. I think they kind of missed that. They didn't know it was going to be that big probably at the time, but they really just I
think Ambrose is going to stick around too, just a little off topic. I think that he's going to wind up staying now.
I called that, or I kind of think he's going to stay around.
It was interesting that he didn't come out. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, just Rollins came out right after.
Rollins came out.
Yeah, so I think that...
But at the end of the night, Roman and Rollins both came out to help him when he was getting attacked.
Exactly.
So they're really setting up that
I think the heel turn failed, which is why they need to go back.
But they're going to go back, and then they're going to try it again, but this time it's going to... Reigns is going to win it, and then he's going to win, Money in the Bank or something. Right. Cash in, and, totally turn on him, and he's going to be the biggest... most hated guy in the
I think they could do it. I think they honestly could do it, too, with Rollins. With Rollins beating Lesnar... Right? And then Reigns stealing that spotlight from Seth. It's a very simple, gradual, really elongated turn where it's kind of, I liken it to the Mega Powers, right? Mm-hmm. Savage wins the title at WrestleMania 4, and then you go in, and now Hogan, now we're going to team up. We're going to be the Mega Powers. Oh, well, you touched Elizabeth, and you had to touch her, and you had to do this, and all this other stuff. You had to take what was mine. You couldn't let me have the spotlight. It had to always be about... There's so many avenues of things you can do now. And it makes
it feel more organic.
Yes,
and it's not it's not like Dean Ambrose's turn. Okay, you're making it Roman wants the title. Mm-hmm. You can base off the title, which makes the Universal title look so much better.
Yes,
you have so much more organic that makes it feel.
Honestly, it doesn't have to be about the title. It can just be every time Roman goes out there, he gets a big massive pop, and then Seth goes out there and he gets a pop, but not as big, right? It's the little things, right? Where Rollins does something, but all they're cheering for is Reigns. We want Reigns. We want Reigns. We want Reigns. It's the little seeds that you can really develop and really just kind of see it organically grow. And like you said, let the fans dictate it, right? And just kind of let it breathe. Not everything's got to be, we got to set something up for this month, and then next month, and then the month after that.
That's honestly why NXT, that's why the Gargano champion stuff is really taking off. Everything just felt organic. He turns on him, then everything that's happened, it's that makes sense. Right. And when this whole storyline happens and someone turns, it will make sense.
I'm very, very interested to see what's going to happen going forward. Like I said, they just got to be very careful, because if you strap the Rocket to Reigns again, I think you're going to kill him. Because you can't just let him be. Because if you let Roman just do that, he doesn't need to go through everybody in order to be the top guy.
No, Rollins needs to win the title and hold it for a while, and Reigns needs to be that backup guy for a little bit of time.
He needs to be the supporting role until finally there's a boiling point, right? They just need to go back and watch WrestleMania between 4 to 5 and redo that whole storyline. Instead of Macho Man, it's Rollins. Instead of Hogan, it's Reigns. Just do that, and everybody will be happy. That's all you got to do. It's not that hard. You did the blueprint 20 years ago, for goodness sakes. Yes. Okay, guys, that's going to be it for episode 14 of the I'm Always Right Sports Podcast. Once again, I know we have too many fingers, for goodness sakes. For the Merkzone, for the Brain, I'm the Mouth of Michigan Ramadega, and we will see you guys, as always, next week.